when I say own your dog, I mean develop your dog, care about your dog, learn your dog, grow your dog. So that's what I mean by owning. If there's a space and I care about that said space, I'm going to own it if I think I'm the best person to see something through. Now, if I'm not, well, then I'm going to see how I can best own the space to support the person who is driving the process. And so when I say, own your dog, own your puppy, it's because you're smarter than your puppy. It's because you have a longer term game plan of success. Your dog doesn't know the dangers out there in the world. Your dog is thinking in the moment instinctually where you're smarter. So you're the right person for the job. What is up, champion puppy owners? Do you really want to streamline ownership experience? Do you really want a socialized dog with manners, responsiveness, and general life skills? Great, you're in the right place. This podcast is for accountable puppy owners who want to better know and grow their dogs. Time to put on your big girl panties, buckle up, and ride with me. Pat Quinn, the founder and creator of the Champion Puppy Training System. Let's go. Welcome to or welcome back. What I'm going to go into detail about today is why most owners fail. The two biggest reasons that I've identified. Use these two primary reasons of failure as a way to keep yourself in check. I want you asking yourself all day long as you're going throughout owning your puppy's day, how am I doing in these two categories? And what I do before I even go into my daily regimen of success for my clients is I had them understand why they're failing. And what's nice about when you understand why you're failing, once you start to get unaccountable, you start to go back in that realm, hopefully you have like a siren going on in your brain that says, we're heading towards dangerous territory. Almost like if you're coming around a bend and it's rainy and there's no guardrail, you should have an alarm go off in your head that's basically saying, I better slow down, or I better change something up here. If not, we're gonna go off this cliff. So use this podcast as a guide for you. Use it as guardrails to keep your butt in line, keeping you accountable, and bringing you closer day by day, interaction after interaction, to that dog, that champion that you're envisioning in your mind. All right, let's have at it. You're maybe in the trenches right now trying to be a better puppy owner. Maybe you're a dog trainer, just looking to better wrap your head around how you can help your clients out. But if you're in the trenches, I'm right there with you every day. I have a training session, if not multiple sessions, every day. And I'm in the trenches trying to put together this content in a way that keeps people inspired, helps you wrap your head around how to be your best owner or how to be the best trainer. I had to dig deep. These podcasts and other social media things that I'm doing now are extremely time consuming. But the way I look at it is this content should live on and have a multiplier effect of my time. And the same is going to be true with some of these areas of your dog's development where you really have to work at getting to a point of momentum. You have to breathe that initial wind in your training sails, and you have to draw some lines in the sand and always say, it's worth it. It's worth it. And just stay focused. Anyway, on with the podcast. We're not just looking at one particular area like it's in a silo. We look at, let's say, sleeping through the night as crate training during the day. We look at it as energy management. We look at it as the general management as to where you're going to put the crate and kind of set everything up. And there's a couple other areas, depending on the household, that I might say, hey, you know what? This activity is affecting your ability to sleep through the night. And then you're coming back the next day with the snowball effect going in the wrong direction because you lack the energy. At that point, when your dog maybe might be sleeping even though it shouldn't be. You're just happy that you can catch some Z's without hearing barking or anything like that. So same with potty training. That's an area where the owners just say, hey, I want my dog to whiz or crap outside. Well, in order to achieve that, you need to work the system. It's not a matter of poop on the grass or pee on the grass. It's a matter of bone in mouth, leash on dog, confinement being done in a systematic way. So when you bring your dog out, he or she goes to the bathroom right away. In my system, I even have like different terminology that I use for a dog that has to pee really, really bad. And if you bring your dog out at, let's say, 30 or 40% bladder capacity, well, of course it's going to chew sticks and mulch and investigate and be at that opposite end of the leash, versus if you bring your dog out at 90 to 100% bladder capacity, it's going to take care of business. And notice how I'm putting numeric values on that bladder capacity. That way we can better manage it. Concepts from other podcasts. So what I tell my clients is, how are you going to get trucker pee out of your puppy? How are you going to get fire hydrant pee, Starbucks and water pee? That's when you, like me in the morning when I have a couple Starbucks and I drink like a ton of water and all I do is pee all morning. How are you going to get concert pee where you don't want to miss the set, but yet you've been drinking those big beers and you got to go really, really bad, but you don't care because you want to see that artist. You want to be part of that moment. Sports pee, where you don't want to miss that winning shot, or that, if you're at hockey, there might be a fight and you're like, you don't want to miss it. I want you to bring your dog out with that intensive level pee. Other kind of pee I want you to think about is turnpike pee. When you're trying to make good time because if you don't go past a certain city, you're going to be paying for it. You're going to be stuck in traffic. So whatever analogy you want to use for your life for when you really got to go, your dog needs to be brought outside at that time. All the potty training is done in the prep work. The bells aren't going to train your dog. Your dog telling you isn't going to be the way you should go. I mean, yeah, look for signs. Don't be oblivious. Don't be inconsiderate. But more importantly, I'd rather just get sleep pee out of your puppy. And how can we get sleep pee? Is by getting your dog tired. One of the things I go over in my system is the reason why dogs fail. There's two main reasons why dogs typically aren't killing it in their household. One is too much real estate. Your dog gets to do whatever they want to do whenever they want to do it. Or at the very least, it's a loose ownership model. The second reason is high lows. That means because your dog's just going around the house doing whatever the heck it wants kind of during the day and dictating its own little life at age 12 weeks, which just sounds ridiculous. That's like me asking my 7 and 8 year olds, hey, what do you want to do today? No, I'm going to give them a general direction and then we can fill in the gaps from there. So I might say, hey, Daddy doesn't have any trainings this morning. What sport do you want to play? Or do you want to rock out? My daughters play guitar and drums. And I say, you want to rock out or you want to go ice skating? Like, boom, like we're doing an activity, but it's not going to be, hey, what do you want to do today? Because if I ask them, they're going to eat Pop-Tarts and watch TV. Which is cool. There's nothing wrong with that. But I wanted that to be when I'm super busy. Like if I know, this actually just happened to me last night. I had to do payroll. And I waited a little bit till last minute. Like I can give myself the last minute or 10th hour, maybe not 11th hour. That wouldn't be responsible of me as an employer. But, I cut it a little bit tight. And I tell my daughters, hey, it's payroll Thursday. Go grab yourself a snack out of the fridge, which I already have prepped for them. I was thinking 2 steps ahead. I knew I was allowing myself just a little bit of time. So, cut up some carrots for them. Had an apple there, already washed, ready to go for them. So I said, go grab the snack out of the fridge and you can watch TV. And they were like, for realsies, Dad? Like, you're not going to have us, doing a sport or doing, studying or anything like that, like structured? And I'm like, for realsies? And they're like, yes. And like, an hour and a half later, I come up from processing payroll, and it's wintertime when I'm recording this now, and so it gets dark outside very quickly in my neck of the woods. And my daughters are just sitting there glued to the TV, like, all the lights basically turned off, like in that trance, that TV trance. And then I said, all right, TV off, time for dinner. And then boom, we just started to have right back at it. But the reason why I say that is my kids will have that freedom, and even in a structured way, at the most opportune time for me. So they appreciate it more. They make better use of that freedom. And I want the same thing for your dog. So even when your dog's not in a structured situation, when it has freedom, it's making better choices because you've guided it while you were providing a higher level of vigilance. And it's of the right energy mindset. It's at the right time of the day. It's not all day. So I know there's a limited window for me to develop my daughters, and I have to capitalize on that on a daily basis and have their regimen reflect that. And my daughters get a little bit more free time with my wife. Yeah, that's great. So they'll spend a little bit more snuggle time, a little bit more TV time with my wife. And you might have a dual ownership model in your household where you might be the more active one. And you're going to do some more of the activity. And if you know that person in your dual ownership model, whether it be your spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, significant other, parent, child, like whatever that case might be, if you know their activity level with that dog isn't what it needs to be, either one, you need to get it out of them. You need to say, hey, listen, let's have a real conversation. And that real conversation isn't just I'm doing all the work and you stink. It's got to be more a matter of black and white. Hey, here's what I need you to do, and this is when I need you to do it. And these are the words we're going to communicate in and around what I need you to do and what the outcome was. So it's got to be somewhat professional. I was just in a household last night where the owner runs a daycare, right? And just having had my kids in daycare, basically setting records, like the soonest they could be in daycare, they were. Why? I was out training dogs and going nuts with my life to try to make things happen. And I wanted to spend more quality time with my kids when I picked them up. And so knowing the daycare model, I said, hey, as we're going over your dog's food motivation regimen and it's not going so hot, and as you're having a conversation, it sounds like for the first time in front of me about when he eats and how much he eats and all this stuff, I said, you got to communicate among yourself. You can't communicate a week later once your trainer comes out here. Like, these are conversations that need to be had. Even if anything, have like a food chart out if you need that device, if you need that tool to make sure that you have a black and white way of communicating. And I said, what if this was the daycare? Like, if this was the daycare, that would be like gross negligence in regards to figuring out how much and when and the outcome of a baby drinking their formula. And I'm sure that there are specific charts that you have to track that, to communicate with each other and the owner. I mean, the parent. Sorry, I live in the doggy daycare realm, but a little bit for me, I feel like in my ownership model, again, my job is to develop my dogs, which I don't have any puppies now, but if I did have puppies, or for my puppy training clients, when I say own your dog, I mean develop your dog, care about your dog, learn your dog, grow your dog. So that's what I mean by owning. Yeah, you're going to own their space, but just like I do with my daughters, you're going to own it in a healthy way. So yeah, my bad. I don't think that I necessarily own my daughters or even my dogs, but it's a terminology where if there's a space and I care about that said space, I'm going to own it if I think I'm the best person to see something through. Now, if I'm not, well, then I'm going to see how I can best own the space to support the person who is driving the process. And so when I say own your puppy, it's because you're smarter than your puppy. It's because you have a longer term game plan of success. Your dog doesn't know the dangers out there in the world. Your dog is thinking in the moment instinctually, where you're smarter. So you're the right person for the job. And in your household, again, you might have to own your puppy space in the household, even when it's not you. So you have to set your dog up for success if you have some slackers in your household. So you're going to bite the bullet, kick it into high gear, wake up earlier, stay up later, be more dedicated, sacrifice, forego things that you want while you work on your dog as you pass your puppy off to the less vigilant, less caring, less focused members of your household while you're still working on them. So you're going to work on your dog. Why? Because you're going to say the serenity prayer and say, what can I change and what can I? And I'm giving you the wisdom to differentiate. And you work on your dog while you work on the other person. So your dog, I know you can change. Your dog is, especially in my system, it should be fairly easy with a puppy to be the Babe Ruth of dog training. If you stick to my scripts, which I give you more specific approaches in my actual training course instead of just this philosophical stuff that I like to go over and approach stuff in these 40-minute rabbit holes called my podcast, which hopefully you're getting something from. But again, you can expect certain things from your puppy like clockwork. Now, the other member of your household, you might chip away at. So you're going to get them to move a couple notches in the right direction. You're going to maybe have them have a better understanding as to why you want them to do something, and most importantly, how it benefits them. So what I've found over the years is if you can connect the reason why you want something done, and you can have it tie into a beneficial reason for that person that you're having to work through, I think you'll find a higher level of buy-in and implementation. So let's say you have a kid and they're being nipped by your dog, or the dog's maybe peeing and pooping while your kid's trying to watch TV. By just having them buy into the concept of, hey, if we burn this puppy's energy, you can then put them in the crate or give them a bone, and you won't have to clean up that pee or poop, or you won't be a human voodoo doll for our dog. And then once they generally buy into that concept, you say, okay, great. Now that you've bought into the concept, and let me prove to you that it works. Watch, I'm going to take the first one for you. I'm going to sit here and play tug for about 20 minutes. And I guarantee you that he's going to go in the crate and he's going to chew on the bone and he's going to relax. Or that I'm going to give you this leash, you're going to give him the bone, and from there, he should be very easy to manage back to the bone. And then in about an hour, I want you to take him out to go pee, right? Give him very specific directions, but you lead in. You do the hard work first, and then from there, seeing is believing. That might be a slap in the face because you've been doing the hard work up to this point, and you just want to say, just do it. That's what I want to say to my clients. I want to say, you know what to do, just do it. That's what I want to say to my staff. That's what I want to say to my kids. The only person I can say that to is myself, because, well, there's a couple people in my life that I can literally just say, just do it. And not like in that terminology, but I can just say like, yo, this needs to be done. Let's, pitter patter, let's get at her sort of deal. And they know I care about them. They've gotten results in their life, and boom, they just do it, and they don't have to be explained every little thing. They can kind of wrap their head around why I'm doing it anyway, because they've been, again, in the trenches with me as I've grown my company or I've grown their dog. And so that's the exception. That's the exception. There's some people who just live to execute. They live to learn, apply, and grow. For most people, maybe yourself included, that's not the case. So just do it. Because I said so, will blow up in your face. So what you're going to do instead is explain, let them know how it's going to benefit them, show through example, and then from there, once they buy into the concept, you can teach some small technical skills. Like if you have a kid, not lifting the tug toy above your head, especially if your kid's small. If you're lifting your tug toy up and you're like a 5, 6, 7-year-old kid, and you have a bigger dog, let's say like a lab or a boxer that's maybe 3 months old or so, that dog can jump up on your kid's shoulders or even scratch your kid in the eye. So just by having the tug toy be at waist level, basically like mouth level of that dog, and having the kid and having your kid work out that lifting the tug toy up high, just working it out of their habit stream as they're interacting with your dog, that's a huge problem solved. So now you don't have to worry about the jumping. Taking it a step further, if your dog is jumping, what I typically do is I actually have the adult owner on the other side of the leash. So the leash would be attached to your dog and you're literally just kind of behind your dog, almost like how like a ref would be in like a MMA match or like a boxing match, or how like I would be behind my daughter who's just learning how to ride or bike for the first time without training wheels or something like that, where you would just kind of be behind. Maybe not riding the bike for the first time, but like she's like basically there, right? She's almost self-sufficient, pedaling and balancing by herself. Gets the basic concepts. And I just kind of be putzing along the side just to be there as a safety mechanism. And so as your little one is playing tug with your dog, the second your puppy goes to jump on your child, you're literally right on time, just going to move your elbow back in a quick little motion, about 2 inches. It doesn't take a lot. This isn't like a leash correction where you're really trying to floor your dog. Your puppy is going to be so focused on jumping on your kid right at that top part of that arc where your puppy is the most unbalanced, as well as the most focused on actually connecting with your child. If it feels like its paws have a place to actually land, but instead gets a little pop on that leash back at an off angle, typically not aligned with the spine, like it would either be, let's say if the spine's at 6 o'clock, maybe the leash is at 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock, you're in that other direction with just enough slack on that leash where the second your puppy slips up, boom, you're on him or her. Again, not in a major way. Your puppy's energy is doing all that like right on time interruption. All you're doing is moving your elbow back quickly with turning that little bit of slack on the leash into a quick little pressure, boom. And then the second your puppy goes down, right back to playing. Eventually, you can just kind of wean yourself off, almost like a parent who's starting to not be next to a kid who's just learning how to ride the bike. And you can be the next room over. So if you see things starting to unfold, let's say your kid starts to lift that tug toy up higher, you can be there. Yo, Johnny, you keep your hands down. Do you want jumped on? No, mommy. All right, good. Well, keep your hands down then, squirt. So that's how you're going to show by example, have somebody buy in, and then from there, hand off, knowing that your goal isn't to say, go play with the dog. It's to show and then hand off appropriately. That way you can exit and stay not involved. That's what I'm doing with my business now, as we're looking to have other facilities and other business models. So we don't stop serving. We want to serve at a higher level. And the only way we can do that is by empowering our staff to own their positions and to run our company, hopefully better than what my wife and I have. And that sounds kind of funny to say, but if you look at the progression of technology or thought, or if you look in sports, if you look at the first couple years of the UFC versus where it's at today, a lot of those amateurs can kick the pros' butts from 10 years ago, from 15 years ago. They're just up in the game. And so I would hope that my current staff, and then especially my future staff, could blow my wife and I out of the water when it comes to our abilities. We're not going to get to that point in our life, in our development, if we don't exit correctly. And like I mentioned in another podcast, when we care for dogs, that is a major undertaking. The dogs are playing in our play yards all day. They're being confined overnight. The owners are taking dogs in and out of our lobby off of a busy highway. We have over up to 40 dogs plus a day for grooming. Currently, where we get these wiggly little puppies or dogs that maybe want to bite my groomers, and yet my groomers have to take scissors around their eyes, around their mouth. We're playing with real fire. And so are you when you're allowing your kid to play tug with your dog. But you got to do what you got to do. So obviously, if you're listening to this and your dog may be resource guarding, that means like hovering over a tug toy or a bone, showing teeth, you need to work with a local professional. I think you should continue listening to this podcast, but you need to work with somebody who can get in there hands-on with you and give you a lot more structure and maybe some in-person time if you're going down that route. if you have a puppy and you're going through puppy stuff, well, the good news is by doing this stuff, you'll never have to be like that potential person I just mentioned who is actually dealing with real problems. Right now, you have puppy problems. And if you don't get out of the puppy problems, then you might end up with some long-term baggage that you can't completely shake, or you might have real dog problems. So that's why I want you to hit this hard, so that last statement doesn't apply to you ever. Anyway, the 2 reasons why most puppy owners fail: 1, too much real estate, no structure in the day. The second reason is high lows. That means your puppy is going to sleep when it feels like, out of boredom, versus being absolutely exhausted. So think about when you go on vacation, right? Maybe you're doing some day drinking and you're eating at will. You're hitting up the beach, just, maybe you get in the beach and you come out and you say, I'm gonna take a little nap now, and you just kind of go throughout your day. That's what a lot of puppies' daily regimen looks like. Now, imagine if you are a busy professional, or it's just like the holiday time, or you have a stacked schedule. And from the second you wake up, it's, hey, I got to sneak my workout in, or if not, it's not going to happen. Then boom, I'm getting myself ready. Boom, I'm getting my kids ready. Boom, I'm on to work. I got to prep this because there's a deadline. And then from there, you immediately leave your work and you back to the kids, back to the everything else you have going on. And at the end of the day, you hit a wall and you're just like, you're donezo. Like, you might pour yourself a glass of wine, say, I'm going to unwind, and then you fall asleep. I want your puppy to be in that second daily regimen, in that he can't just go from station to station, like eating when he wants and just having all that freedom. Eventually he can. You can have that loose ownership model, but only if you're structured and disciplined first. So remember, structure and discipline equal freedom. I want the same thing you do. I was talking to my one client last night, and they said, well, my old dog, he could really just assimilate, he was just a good family dog. We didn't have to do all this structured stuff. I was like, okay, well, I don't know why we're even talking about your old dog. I don't know why we're talking about what your breeders told you to do, which is completely contradictory to my food motivation rollout. But I want that same thing. And I said, underneath this, what would seem like a militant, go get them rollout, I'm a hippie at heart. But the reason I'm so aggressive on the front end is so I can get through it. So I can just have a dog where I can fold that crate up and put it in the basement or the garage and not use ever again. That I can have a dog that can come with me and just chill. My dogs go where I go. Why? Because they're good dogs and they're not a pain in the butt. And so then that way I don't have to spend as much focus time with them, and I come back home and they're tired. So I'm nice and loose, where I just literally open up my front door, I open up my car, and my dogs run out and they jump in the car door. Now that's a loose ownership model. I don't got a leash on them. We just, mosey throughout the day, crazy on the same page. But I want my ownership model to be so loose once I actually get through that dog's initial development and I have them assimilate in my lifestyle, that I'm crazy structured on the front end. So remember, that's why we do this. It's worth it. You give up 10 minutes of sleep now, you get hours of sleep later. So high lows. The reason why your dog has high lows is because it has low highs. That means it's not focused on a tug toy for a prolonged period of time. And when my clients play tug, I give them just 2 simple things to quantify. 1 is quality. How much is your dog growling? How much is it getting into it? How focused is in the zone is it while it's playing with you? So I want you to get more and more quality tug sessions. The other benchmark I give them is quantity. How long can your dog play tug with you? If someone says, well, Pat, my dog plays tug with me intensely for 30 minutes. Great. That is a good problem. And once we start adding sit stays and stares and retrievals and all sorts of other stuff to it, we're going to be working off switches in there. So you're not going to have that dog that all day long comes up to you with a ball or that doesn't have an off switch. If anything, in my system, the tug toys and the play toys go up. The only thing that stays down is the actual deer antler, or sometimes a bully stick or a compressed rawhide. So when you are able to live in this structured way, all of a sudden potty training comes naturally. Why? Because once you're done with that activity, you give your dog a bone, it goes in a confined or semi-confined situation, which in my system can be either the crate, the leash, or baby gates. If your dog's not in the pee zone, if your dog doesn't owe you a pee or a poop, and it's carrying some of its own weight in regards to its focus on the bone. Then after your dog goes to sleep, as it winds down on that bone, in a very natural way, because at this point your dog's needs are met, it's tired, and now it's just like chewing. Again, that's kind of like your glass of wine before you go to bed. A couple hours later, you wake your dog up. You don't wait for your dog to wake up. You bring that little sucker outside, and he's got that fire hydrant pee, trucker pee, concert pee, sports event pee, Starbucks and water pee, turnpike pee. Your dog's got to go. So remember, potty training isn't done outside. It's done inside all day long. Crate training, you want your dog to sleep through the night? Well, then get at it during the day in that sprint, cool down, rest fashion. So I'm going to go into greater detail in regards to your dog's daily regimen in my coming podcast. But this was a good starting point. I think that you understanding the two main reasons why people fail and starting to wrap your head around getting at it in a little bit more of a structured way, not over expecting from the other people in your life currently who are helping you raise this puppy, as well as being able to get more out of them, should help start to get you in the right direction. So keep tuning in, subscribe if you haven't already, because that's how you're going to grow, is in dribs and drabs. Maybe you're going to take advantage of some of my free content online on my Facebook, maybe my ebooks if you haven't taken a look at those, my webinar. And then from there, if you do want to work together in a more structured way, I will be happy to check out your videos, mark up your videos, do about twice a week webinars in a very systematic way where we start at the start, we break down everything that you need to understand from an approach and management standpoint. Then we have at it with food-based training. Then we do training through play. And if your dog is still having inappropriate behavioral concerns, which it really shouldn't, once we get to that fourth week, we can deal with those directly in a way that's fair and eloquent, in a way that now your dog very much understands. And we can start to work on scaling up so your dog's not just trained in your kitchen, because that's nonsense. So subscribe. Check out my YouTube link, check out my Facebook link. If you're on Insta, follow me and my family around the country as my family is teaching other people's family how to turn their puppies into champions. Remember, champion puppy owners, action over anxiety, discipline equals freedom. Take the next step and do what you know how to do. Drive the puppy training process. Truly commit yourself to this. Hit it hard for a short period of time so you can stop working on your dog and simply enjoy them. I'll see you next time. Peace! Right now, you have puppy problems. And if you don't get out of the puppy problems, then you might end up with some long-term baggage that you can't completely shake, or you might have real dog problems. You know, you have to breathe that initial wind in your training sails. And you have to draw some lines in the sand and always say, it's worth it. It's worth it. And just stay focused.